So currently as I'm recording this I'm 21 years old, and in a few days on January the 30th, which is my birthday, I will be turning 22. For some reason I had to think about that then, but it's really got me thinking about how I've always had this interest for drawing and creating things, and also how much drawing I must have done in the last 22 years, which is probably a lot, and most of which has been done in the last few recent years, because even though I've always had an interest for it, through school and stuff I never really did it as much as I do now, or at least I didn't pay as much attention to it then as I do now. I think these days I must draw for a few hours every day, whether that's through the architecture work or through the drawings that I do in my own time and for YouTube. But I've put this video together for a few reasons. I don't know what I'm going to call it yet, but basically I've been thinking about how long it takes to actually become better at drawing, and also about how you feel about your own artwork, because they say that it takes 10,000 hours to become a master of something, which is about 6 to 10 years to become great at something. I think it says something like that when I googled it, and I don't think that statement can apply to drawing. I mean, you can certainly get better at it, but to become a master of it, I'm not so sure. See, drawing is a very personal practice, and most of the time you are your own judge. At least that's what really matters anyways, is how you view your own work. It doesn't really matter what other people say or think, it's just all personal. And they say that you are your worst critic. Now that statement is something that I think can apply to drawing, because it's very natural for creative people to sometimes go through these moments where they are maybe unsatisfied with their work and what they produce. Now, sometimes we focus a bit too much on the smaller details, maybe we think we can do better, or perhaps in some situations we are looking at other artists and comparing their work to our own. Now, one thing I've learned in the last few years of drawing and creating these videos and doing all of this is that you should never compare yourself to anyone else. What we should learn to do is look at their work and appreciate it, maybe let it inspire us, but we should never let it reflect back onto our own work and make us doubtful and discouraged. I think I mentioned something like this in the video how to get better at drawing. I can't remember exactly what I said, but I think I said something along the lines of how sometimes we look at other artists, and especially if we are learning how to draw, we look at other people's work, and sometimes it can motivate us and sometimes it can discourage us. And what we need to realise is that these artists that create this amazing artwork, they went through the same process and they started in the exact same position. They probably go through exactly the same things that you are going through when they was learning, and you sort of have to just get through this process and really concentrate on your own work and stop letting other people's work distract you when you are creating your own. You need to be happy with what it is you are creating, and if you are not, then you can really try and change something until you are. You're never stuck. You can always move on and learn new things and get better at something. And drawing is a process, and it's this journey that you go through and gradually get better at it over time. It doesn't just happen overnight. And I think there's something really special about that experience of learning and working towards something. A lot of people, when they are working towards something and they finally get where they want to be, they're stuck and they don't know what to do next. So I try to really use this moment of learning how to draw to try and step back and appreciate the process rather than becoming frustrated and focusing on the negative. Try and be positive and look at every mistake you make as a step forward rather than a step backwards. At least that's what helps me when I learn things, and I still have so much to learn. I'm only young. I want to start improving my drawing in different areas. I need to start working on anatomy a bit, because that's probably the weakest area of my drawing ability is anatomy. So I'm studying books, I'm trying to explore new things, and I really want to try and pay a lot of attention to the different aspects of drawing, going back to the fundamentals and learning a lot of that, and keeping that fresh in my mind and seeing what kind of influence all of these different aspects of drawing can then have on my work. At the moment I create a lot of realistic drawings, which is a style of working that I appreciate, and I think personally my work is always going to have some kind of realistic quality to it, whatever way that is brought across. And I think what I respect most about this style of working is the process, the complete process of being able to get to that point. And it's all about this learning process of working towards it, learning how to create realistic textures using pencil. And in the last few years that I was learning how to create these, that's probably what I enjoyed most rather than the actual end product. And now it's got to the point where I'm able to confidently create these kind of drawings and pass on what I have learned and teach people and create these kind of videos where I show you all the stuff that I learned along this process of learning myself, and it's all from experience. And I'll continue doing that because I love it, it's a dream of mine, and to essentially build a career around a passion, you can't really ask for more than that. The only thing is, I don't want to become so confident in one area of drawing that I become comfortable and then I start continuously creating the same videos and it becomes stale and repetitive. That's why in the meantime I'm learning new things to then eventually be able to teach you other things as well. I think the only way for me to stay so passionate about a subject is to always have new things to learn and explore, and once I've learnt these new things I can then do exactly what I have done with the realistic drawing and pass on what I've learnt to you. And also I look at these videos I make as a way for me to document this journey, and I also learn a lot easier when I'm creating videos on the subject. You know, the thing is, going back to what we talked about earlier, I don't think I'll ever become truly satisfied with what it is I create. It's sort of like there's always more to focus on. There's not one end point, it's this continuous cycle of what's next. And this might be a bit of a strange example, but let's take Leonardo Da Vinci for instance. He was considered one of the greatest geniuses of all time. He was an artist as well as many other things, and when it came to his paintings, he was a bit of a perfectionist. He would start a painting and then not finish it for years. He would carry that painting around with him, and he would learn more about anatomy in the process, and once he learnt more about the anatomy and how things work, he would return to that painting to finish it off. The Mona Lisa, which is viewed as the best painting ever done, he carried that around with him for years until he was even on his deathbed, and all the way through that process he was trying to tweak that smile and learn new things, figuring out ways to actually perfect this painting. And to me that's an example of how there isn't just this end point. Even through his notebooks and through his work, he was always trying to learn new things up until his death. And he would have died with a lot of unanswered questions and things that he was trying to figure out all the way through his life. It might be a strange example, but to me it's reassuring because we literally just create and learn as we go along. We all focus on the end product and creating this great artwork, but I think what we need to start paying more attention to is the actual process of getting there, because this is where it all happens, this is where we learn and experience new things. And maybe in the end that's what really matters. But that's pretty much all from me today. Thank you for watching. I know this video was a bit different from what I usually create. Maybe you can relate to it, but I sort of wanted to put this together for myself as well. Anyways, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.